Hi everyone. Today we're going to be discussing the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That's really what's going to kick off World War One. We're going to see how that happens here today. For homework, please read the ultimatum that Serbia is going to get, or excuse me, that Austria-Hungary is going to give to Serbia, and practice our skill of talking to the text as you go through. Annotations, underlining, highlighting, circling, whatever system you want to use to identify some different things and what are you thinking about as you go through. Please make sure that you do that as you work your way through that reading. With your partner on some lined paper, take a few minutes here, create 3 column notes. First, things that you know about World War I. Second, some opinions you think you have. And third, any inferences that you can make. Hey, I think I know this, so here's the inference that goes with it. Take a few minutes to do that, then you and your partner can keep moving through the PowerPoint. Fantasy League, we're going to be keeping track of points today. I'll explain what that's like if the next class period, and we'll see how we do in terms of scoring for it. Here is the Empire of Austria-Hungary. Notice the amount of places that are contained, the amount of different current nations of Europe that are contained in here. If you'll recall back to the last chapter that we studied, Austria had begun to lose power and they had to split it up into what's called a dual monarchy, meaning you had 2 different kings, one for Austria and one for Hungary. With all of that going on, you also have all these different nationalities, and we'll get to nationalism later on this week or early next week, and how nationalism is influencing the way that many of these different groups are operating. The groups that we're going to be concentrating on are down in here. These are what are known as Slavic groups. These are groups that came from Russia and Eastern Europe and then made their way down the coast and into here. And those different Slavic groups are going to be where our focus is going to lay for today's lesson. Here is Austria-Hungary. This shaded, half-shaded area is a point of contention. What happens is Austria-Hungary sees this land, and as a way to try and ensure that they are able to continue to be strong, they actually annex this land. And this word annex means to kind of take over or claim it as your own without necessarily winning a war or without necessarily the people offering it up to them. They annex this land and say, okay, you're ours now. And if these different Slavic groups down in here are all pushing for nationalism, which means pride in your own nation, you can see how that's going to cause some problems here. And so, in part, because of this, the Balkans, this region down here, is known as the powder keg region, the powder keg of Europe. Think about just a big barrel of gunpowder that one spark could set it off. And that's really what we're talking about here. So the first item really identifies all of these different Slavic groups. This is a slide that I stole from somebody else's PowerPoint, but I thought the image was so great. It really shows you and gives you an idea of all of these different groups that are in one area, and once this region in here that I'm highlighting is annexed by Austria-Hungary, are now a part of an Austro-Hungarian empire. This political cartoon does a really good job. Also, here you have the leaders of Europe who are trying to sit on the lid of the pot, and as that pot is boiling, it's boiling over, and they're trying to keep the lid on as best they can. At this point, it's been about 50 years, 60 years since the Crimean War, since Russia got a little antsy and tried to take over the Ottoman Empire. We learned that the Ottoman Empire is slowly dying and losing its power, and all of that is contributing to this region known as the powder keg. For each map that we go through, I'd like you to continue adding to your fact, opinion, and inference sheet as you go through. So here's this first map. Take a few minutes here, go through. You can see how it changes from one to the other. Here we have the Balkan states before the First Balkan War, and then it changes to the Balkans after the Second Balkan War. First, second, first, second. And so I'd like you to consider those maps, watch this a few times, then continue adding to your sheet. Go ahead and do that now. As you're adding, feel free to pause this if need be in order to make sure you have enough time to write. Then you can move forward from there after a quick discussion with partners. Here we have a second map, Europe 1914, and identifies the Allied powers in tan, the Central powers in pink, and the neutral powers in that mint green. So again, you can pause it here, continue with your partner to add to your sheet. What is it that you see? As you go through this one, what should pop out to you, those lines, those are railroads. And if you look, those railroads are concentrated in England, across Germany, and the central part of Europe through here. But Russia, very, very sparse. Russia basically has 5 major railroad lines prior to the war beginning in 1914. That's going to play a major role for them, and not in a good way. All right, I'd like you to go ahead and watch this embedded video. I created some lyrics and had a couple of people put this together for me a few years back, and hopefully you enjoy it. So go ahead and watch the video clip, and then you can move forward from there. For the next video clip, I'd like you to be able to answer these 2 questions. What are some issues for Franz Ferdinand before his trip to Sarajevo even begins? And what were some immediate reactions to the assassination? So please go ahead and click that link, watch the short video, and then answer those 2 questions. You and your partner can do it again on the same sheet of paper. Go ahead and do that now. Here's a nice little GIF that takes us through the assassination. You can see the bomb that took out the first car, and then after the speech, the other cars are headed back down the Apple K. They're trying to go back the same way. They make a wrong turn, end up right in front of Gavrilo Princip, and he takes the shot, killing the Archduke. And as that's happening, the Archduke is pleading with his wife Sophie to please stay alive for the children, and unfortunately they're both going to die as a result of their wounds covered here. Video discussion questions. What are some of those issues? Let's talk about those, and what were some immediate reactions? Take some time to talk with your partner as a class to consider those, to consider what you wrote down as a result of those video clips. Hit some of those, and then you can move forward from there. Points we'll get to, well, I'm in class. That'll make a little bit more sense for you. Homework. Please go ahead and read the Austro-Hungarian ultimatum to Serbia. That's the first document in your packet. Be ready to discuss this in depth tomorrow. So again, I really don't give a ton of homework. Please, please, please make sure that you read this and annotate this document so that we'll be ready to break that down tomorrow in class. It is very, very important for you to do the homework this week in order to better prepare for the class discussions so that we can get more and more out of those if possible. As always, please let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.